Okay, so here's the deal on this. This belt has got to come off, obviously. Now, I only have one shot at this. Once I cut this belt off, if the other one doesn't fit, I'm not going to be able to use this machine for a while, and it's going to cost a lot of money. I got my fingers crossed that this works. Yes. All right, so it's on. I feel a ton of relief knowing that I've got this fixed. Now here's the downside to this feed belt that you'll note. If I want to run really thin material, I'm gonna have to have a backer, any veneers or anything like that, because it just will transfer into the material when it sands it. And unfortunately, these can run a groove on your bed on the bottom, but it's pretty unlikely that, you know, that would take a lot of use to do that. So this is going to work a lot better, and I'm just going to have to live with the metal clips and work around those. So I just got to tension this and then recalibrate the head, and this thing's ready to roll. So real quick, I just want to share with you where my office is. Obviously, it's the shop. I find most of you guys know that I live out here where I work, so I find my workbench the best place to sit down and get computer work done because the kids aren't here and I can kind of get away from things. Tonight what I'm working on is my website, and I've partnered up with Storyblocks for this video, and it's really been helpful for my website. I'm actually using some of their graphics. What Storyblocks does is it provides any kind of pictures, illustrations, vectors, graphics that you can download. They have a large catalog. And I've been going through it trying to find the perfect kind of holiday Christmas season graphic for the homepage slide on my webpage. I found this really cool vintage Merry Christmas graphic that I've downloaded. I dropped it into Photoshop. I added some text to it that I needed. I scaled it to the size I needed on my graphic or for my homepage slide. And then I put it into my website. Really easy process. Now I have this really killer kind of Merry Christmas themed graphic right there. The first thing you see when you jump into the website, you click that and it takes you right to the store. So Storyblocks was really helpful in making that happen. It's way easier than trying to design something up on my own and just take that time. So as part of this sponsorship, Storyblocks is actually offering a 7-day free trial for you guys. Just head down in the description, click the link, go try it out. It's an awesome resource. It's a huge database of images and graphics. I've found it super useful, and I think you guys will too, so go check it out. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm actually hand planing the entire top to this table, And what that's going to do is kind of add some character to it. It's going to give a little texture to the surface and also tear out in areas where there's knots, which is going to work well with the finish we're doing, because we're going to be applying stain, and that stain will grab in there and kind of highlight it, which, you know, a lot of times those defects you totally don't want. But in this particular project, in this table, the client really likes the idea of this old feel and kind of worn table. So the hand plane is going to help achieve that, and we also have to cut the table to length and sand the edges, and then this thing is ready for finish. So real quick, I wanted to go over the finish on this table. I've had a bit of a struggle with the client on the color. She wasn't super happy. Obviously, you can see there's a couple boards in here that are a lot lighter than these. So the idea and the goal moving forward is going to be to individually stain these to even it out, and then come back with a glaze over the top of everything, and just we want to try to kill the red on this. She doesn't really like this red color in here. So that's my approach for this. I'm shooting lacquer as my finish. So this already has a single coat of lacquer. It's been sealed. It's been sanded with 320 grit. I'm going to take blue tape and tape at the glue joint these two boards off. And then I'm going to come in with another stain that I've color matched to these boards, and just stain those two boards and even the whole color out so we have the same consistent color. And then we will come back, shoot another coat of lacquer to seal that stain down, sand with a 400 grit, and then I'll come back with a glaze the whole tabletop, pretty much wipe that off. It'll grab in these areas. I hand plane this top, so it's going to grab and to tear out and then all these cracks and kind of highlight them and bring out kind of a I don't want to say rustic because I don't really like that word, but just kind of an old feel to, like the table's really old. And then after we glaze it, we'll shoot another couple coats of lacquer, and then this thing is ready to go. Alright everybody, so I wanted to talk a little bit about a cool package I got from one of my fans. This comes from Tim in West Virginia. Now Tim is a veteran and actually suffered from some post-traumatic stress disorder, and it sounds like he's had a pretty rough go at it, but he wrote me a really cool note, which I will hold on to this and keep this. This really means a lot, Tim, if you're watching this, to share this with me. I'm not going to share it with you guys because it seems to be a little personal, but it seems that he's gone through some rough times and he's kind of found his way and gotten his life together. He has a daughter and is a dad now, and I can relate to that, and I know how that can really pull you together whenever you have kids, and you just got to be there for them. So Tim, thanks so much for sending these tools, and I appreciate this. I'm going to send you some cool stuff, so be on the lookout. But I wanted to share with you guys what he sent. There's a few good things in here. These are old tools that I think he didn't really have a use for and thought that'd be cool that I could have them, and I really appreciate that. So he sent some old chisels. These are old socket chisels, and for the most part, these are probably too far gone to use. This one's got some bad cracks. This is another socket chisel. This one pretty banged up as well. What happens with these is people, you know, whenever the handles break or wear out, the handle. You may have watched one of my videos where I made a new handle for one of these. You can go check that out. And the handle seats in this little metal tapered socket. And so when handles break, people will often just use the chisel without a handle and hammer on the metal, and it mushrooms the metal and just ruins the socket, and the chisel pretty much becomes useless. So that seems to be the case on these chisels. This is a cool little item. I don't know who the maker is, but it's just a cool little spoke shave. It's got the blade and the cap on it, so I mean this is usable. I can tune this up and clean it up, sharpen the blade, and have that to use, and I will do that. He also sent me, this is probably one of the best ones in there. This is an old Stanley cabinet scraper, a number 80. It's pretty rough in pretty rough shape. Lots of the Japanning is gone on it, but that's all right. It still can function very well. The sole needs to be cleaned up and flattened. It doesn't have a scraper blade in it, but that's okay because I actually have an extra one laying around. So I can now use that, which is good. Also had this cool old, I don't know what you call this, man. It looks like a block plane, but it's pretty big for a block plane. But it's made by Stanley. I've actually never seen this particular style plane. It appears to me like this is a newer model plane, but maybe I'm wrong. The casting on it's pretty thin. But you know, it's a cool lightweight plane that you can maybe use for chamfering edges or doing some cool stuff like that. Again, Tim, I really appreciate you sending them, man. I appreciate you sending me the letter. Like I said, I'm going to hold on to this and send you some cool stuff in return. And before I close this down, I just want to say thanks to any veteran that has served in our military. You guys make huge sacrifices in order for the normal everyday folk like me to do what we want to do and do what we love. So, you know, it's hard to find the words to say thanks for that, because of guys like Tim who wrote me this. You realize that how badly war affects your mind and how it can really take you to dark places. So, Tim, I'm glad you're doing better, man. And again, thanks to all veterans for serving. You guys do a great service to our entire country. I wanted to take some time real quick to talk a little bit about a project we're working on for a company called Jon Hart, and I'll show it to you here. It's designed so they can either set it on their retail displays, their existing displays, as just a sign, or this back stand goes flat flush with the back, and then you've got holes here, so it can also be hung on a wall above their product. So it's versatile. It can do a lot of things. We've incorporated some leather in it here where the hinges are. Haven't really filmed a whole lot of the process on these yet. We've got our first order going right now of 100 of these signs. So I thought I'd catch you up to speed real quick on where we're at. We're really at two different phases. We've got about half of them at this point here. We've got the core piece made, the two breadboard ends or caps, and then we've run our dados and a little rabbet here for the frame to fold into on about half of them, and then we've got still half behind that. We just have the interior core that we need to put the banding on, which gets festooled and dominoed on, and then route out the dados and rabbets for the frame to fold into. So that's where we're going to pick up on this. I'm going to start shooting some footage of the process and kind of take you through it. Okay, so that does it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Remember, go check out our Instagram feed. You can find that in the description to see the finished table, the trestle table, all finished and done. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. We got the Jon Hart job almost done this week. Really excited about what we got coming in the next episode. I took a visit to Austin to check out the Lee Nielsen Tool Show recently. Shot some cool footage of that. Also am purchasing a new tool, which I'm super excited about. It's a very, very old piece of machinery that needs a ton of work. I'm going to completely restore it. I'm not going to give too much of that away right now, but I will be picking that up this week and shooting footage on that. So stay tuned to see what that is. As always, guys, appreciate it. See you next time.